I'm doing great. It's Victory Monday. We'll get into that a little bit later, right? No, I've had it for a few years, but I could not bring it out earlier. Yeah. Whoa. Come finally relevant. Really? You're really putting them down like that? I think they've had a couple of flare years here and there throughout the last decade, haven't they? Yeah, yeah. And then I can't think of the carousel of quarterbacks that went through there during that time. I know Josh Rosen was in there, of course, right? But I guess there is a technical difficulty that we're sorting through over here. Don't worry, we got Liam. He's on it though, so it's gonna be sorted out pretty quickly. Well, going. Oh, I get to rant about the Titans.
No one else with the microphone. I know about you.
Well, I mean, it was a good game. It was nice to beat a team like the Raiders, who I know that Shane, you put in the chat there, bad team that the Raiders are. I don't really know if I would consider them to be a bad team because they really haven't changed. I mean, they only invested in free agency in the offseason. So I don't know how they were bad when last year they were actually a good squad.
All right,
So
we're gonna get back on topic, Kalen, because I think that we finally have our mics back.
are we back, Liam?
Think so? Yeah, yeah. Don't want to talk about Tennessee anymore. Yeah, we're back. We are gonna get back into the Titans, but we're gonna get back on schedule because we were talking about the Dolphins.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say it's crazy that you say like, are they back? I mean, you had mentioned that coming into the segment, are the Dolphins finally back? I mean, like their defense was always there. We were worried if they were going to take a step back after losing Flores because their strength was their linebacking core. But I mean, that really doesn't seem to have skipped a beat at all. Their defensive line is getting crazy pressure as well. They went through a mix and mash of offensive lineman combinations yesterday. And Tua concussed somehow, still puts up 18 passes after that and is able to hold off the Bills. So, I mean, are they back? I think they've been around for a little bit, but I think they're making some real noise now. They're the only undefeated team in the AFC, the strongest conference in the league.
1 second. Can I change something else again, Galen? Sorry. Yeah, it's on you again. You might be on the show all by yourself today, Galen. You're getting your dream. You can talk Titans the whole time.
Let's just cut this fucking beat out.
No, because it's no.
Yeah.
Kalen, it's all yours, bud.
Well, I don't even know what you want me to say here. Okay, so here's a stat line. If I was to say to you, Josh Allen attempted 63 passes Sunday, a concussed Tua attempted 18. The Bills had the ball for 20 more minutes, ran 51 more plays, only punted once. The Dolphins won somehow despite having 212 yards of offense and possessing the ball for under 20 minutes. None of this makes any sense, right? I saw that in a tweet. I think it is so indicative of what happened during that game. I was watching that. I actually was watching the game as if it was almost a Titans game. I was talking about my nails last week though with you there, guys. It was almost that game. I was doing the same thing. I'm not cheering for Tua, but I'm certainly cheering for players like Waddle. I'm cheering for the defense that I mentioned, like the defensive core that was been there for a couple of years now. The corners that they've got there, I really do like those corners they have in Miami. I ranted and raved about them last season. So And then Xavier Howard, I mean, in my opinion, he could have been up for Defensive Player of the Year. So nothing about this game makes sense. But that's the AFC East. I mean, we're going into a bit of a topsy-turvy time here with the Buffalo Bills finally getting to the top here, and then now the Dolphins. I mean, overtaking the Bills again. It's a fun time to watch football.
I honestly just think it's the fact that we always said the Dolphins had a defense, and you've been one of their biggest advocates since we probably started this show. We're on our third season now. You've always been vouching for them, and we always made fun of you. But now their offense has finally caught up to the defense, and so now you're seeing how good this defense can be because they had stopped a phenomenal team in Buffalo, and the offense had got to show their side of it too. And the offense was good enough to keep them in the game to let the defense show off their skills. And it wasn't a one-way street. You only have a good defense and offense. Eventually, your dogs run out of gas.
Yeah. And then now tell me this though, guys. You're betting guys. I don't know if you've looked at the lines early here. How the hell does Miami, an undefeated Miami team that beat the Ravens and a come from behind victory and just beat who everybody has pretty much picked as the Super Bowl winner this year already in the Buffalo Bills, they're coming as a 3-point underdog against the Bengals. Can you tell me that? What's going on here?
Yeah, and that's important, and it's good that we finally got our mics back. I definitely have this written down to review later because I agree. I think that it's unbelievable that the Dolphins are getting disrespected like that, and the Jets winning one game, or the Cincinnati winning one game against the Jets somehow makes them a favorite. It doesn't make any sense to me. They didn't look good doing it either. Was that?
I told you we got Miami at.
What'd you get them
at plus 186?
Yeah.
Like I almost made double money on that game yesterday. It blew my mind. Like the disrespect that was there. Like honestly, I think the Dolphins were going to win. I wasn't sure. I knew they were going to compete, but like the disrespect, you have to put a bet on that.
Yeah. And I mentioned like going into that game, what the injuries were like, right? They already had like a depleted secondary. They lost another player in that game yesterday. Their offensive line was absolutely just demolished as well. Now, the offensive line is going to be better. They got Bobby Hart back from a suspension. I'm sure their center is going to be back. I mean, he takes a week off from an elbow injury. I don't know, after having a short week from the Monday game against Tennessee. I'm sure he'll be back. It wasn't like the offense was, discombobulated by any means, but the defense certainly didn't look like the defense in the second half, right? Like that's you could tell there was a lot of young players out there that were either getting gassed or weren't. Like you have scripted plays going into a game that first quarter, maybe that first half, but in the second half, it's just kind of you're going to buy most things by instinct at that point, especially when you start getting tired in the Miami Heat, right? So I'm sure Buffalo's going to be fine. We've got to really take into consideration how depleted Buffalo was, and again, they're playing Miami. Nobody plays well in Miami in September or October, right?
Buffalo can't run the ball. That's the problem. Until they learn how to run the ball, they're going to run into this buzzsaw the rest of the season. They're going to get down to the playoffs again. The same thing's going to happen. They're going to play some good teams with good defenses. Honestly, all the powers in the AFC this year. So I think it's pretty safe to say there's going to be some wild card teams that are going to be lights out in the AFC, and they can't run the ball. And if they don't have you can't throw the ball in Buffalo in January.
Yeah.
Like maybe Josh Allen can, because he can, but those guys still got to catch it.
Yeah, someone has to catch it.
It's cold and it's hard to catch those hard balls coming from Josh Allen, right?
It's a frozen missile coming at you. You don't want to be messing around with any of that stuff.
No.
And how about how'd you feel about Ken Dorsey throwing a hissy fit in the booth? And like the instant reaction to me was like, yeah, that's Chad coaching football there.
I'm a pretty calm guy. I don't get too excited over there, but I don't think I've ever been on the pace scale that guy is, where you're supposed to win a game with the best quarterback in football. But the fact they actually even showed that was wild.
Yeah.
And now he's like the Darren Orlovsky got ripped apart for years, and I think we're gonna be seeing Ken Dorsey nonstop for the next bit anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The Bills probably needed a loss. They probably needed an early loss to show them a little bit of adversity to get over, because the last thing you want is to get deep into the season and not face any challenges. I think this is probably the game that you want to lose this game, because it's going to get you hungry and it's going to get you ready for the next one. I still think that the Bills are the favorite for the East, but right now Miami definitely looks good. And if it wasn't for Tua I don't know if they're going to say he whacked his head or he had a back injury, but I know what wobbly leg looked like, and he was doing the stanky leg walking off the field there. And I'm pretty sure that if he didn't hit his head like that, then he would have got a couple more pass attempts. It'll be interesting to see if the PA can uncover any of these issues because there's some kind of a grievance going on right now for whether they followed the protocols properly.
I mean, him coming out today and still not being in the protocol, I think kind of bodes well for I think going bad against the Dolphins. But I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but there's a linebacker that talked about how he cleared concussion protocol in a game. He tweeted out, and by the time he got home after the game and was driving around his town, he had forgotten where he lived. He couldn't remember where his house was, and that's when the concussion started to set in. So, but this is day after, and he's still clearing the protocol. I don't know. They can't do it without Tua. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater looked too hot in there. Did you?
No, Teddy did not look good overall. It was just a couple of that game came down to a couple of plays, and the couple of plays were made by the Dolphins defense. Yeah, really early in that game, it looked like Josh Allen was going to have his way. But the fact that Diggs couldn't do anything in the second half, I think he was cramping up a bit. That's the Miami home field advantage, and kind of amazing to think that in 2022, with all the science and technology, that these guys don't realize the amount of hydration they need to head into the week.
Yeah, right.
Well, we lost.
Oh, cool.
What about your game, Chad? We'll talk about the Packers here.
It's just a screen.
For potentially that's the last time that we saw Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady on a field together. We say that probably every time Tom Brady plays somebody, but this does kind of seem like the last time that they're going to play, at least in a regular season game. Maybe Tom comes back next year. I have my own theories on that. I think you do as well. But did that game not seem a little bit underwhelming to you?
I think it's finally showing that old age is kicking on both those guys.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever lived. The last couple of years, Aaron Rodgers has done Aaron Rodgers things in the offseason. I don't think taking care of his body has been at the top of the list, as we've all known. And Tom Brady, I don't care what the TB12 diet does for you. He has enough things going on in his life, and I think it's now catching up with him as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of putting it lightly.
Yeah.
And yeah, those guys, we were missing every offensive weapon we had outside of Leonard Fournette.
So
no receivers, and once again, your defense can keep it in a game for so long, but if you don't score, you're not going to win.
I saw this meme that said the loser of that game had to talk to their family because obviously people know the Aaron Rodgers issues that he's had with his family, and now the most recent stuff with Tom Brady. I just thought that was kind of a funny way to look at things and funny way to go at it. But so I'm watching the Bucks, and I've been watching a lot of shitty offense recently because obviously I've been watching a lot of Steelers games. And I want to know what is the difference between the Bucks offense right now and the Steelers offense because at least the Steelers look like they're trying. The Bucks don't look like they're even trying. But
we have Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And you have Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, that's even worse.
I'll take a 20% Tom Brady over 100% Mitch Trubisky any day.
That's fair. I agree.
When we have our weapons on the field, we're still gonna get things done. I think when Tom Brady missing training camp, and it's been known he's always sucked in September.
Yeah.
Even as in New England, it's prime. He was never great in September. As the season gets on, he gets better. Am I worried about Tampa? No.
No, I agree.
I think that defense is lights out.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Brady's good enough that if we have to go down the stretch, we're going to be okay. The only team in the NFC I'm worried about, realistically, is LA.
Yeah, they look good too.
They have the defense that can stop people. But I think we brought in some dogs on offense and they do things differently. Like a guy like Julio Jones, he's going to be healthy. He's going to play.
Yeah.
Like they're not paying him to play in September. And we're going to get Chris Godwin back. Same thing. We don't need him in September. Our division's dog shit.
The worst.
It's absolutely horrible. We're going to win 10 or 11 games. We're going to be in the dance.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Tampa.
Yeah.
No, say that. There's no worry creeping into the back of your mind regarding the Eagles in any way at all.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles are definitely good too, and
especially that defense, man. I mean, your offensive line is completely suspect. I mean, Mike Evans, you're right. He's suspended. He's going to come back. Chris, there's no guarantee that Godwin's going to return to the form that he was before that ACL injury. I think they rushed him, and that's why they made and gave him a week off or so here to come back to full health. But Russell Gage is not what we thought he was. He got a good catch at the end of the game, but he's not what we thought he was, right?
He's exactly what I thought he was.
Yeah.
He's a 4th wide receiver.
Yeah.
Scotty Miller
Like,
isn't doing
Scotty
too much
Miller's
this year. They
dog
had to
shit.
replace that guy like 3 times over. It
Yeah,
seems.
we brought in Cole Beasley because we had nobody else. I'm not worried about Tampa. And yeah, is Philly good? Yep. Am I going to take Tampa to beat Philly in a playoff game? You're fucking right. I'm taking Tom Brady to beat Philly in a playoff game.
Yeah, and for that Cole Beasley thing, apparently Cole Beasley, he just hit Tom Brady in his Instagram DMs, and that's how he ended up on the Bucks. Which I think that's hilarious. That's like classic 2022. Another classic 2022 is the Lions blowing games, and the Lions who I've abused them on here a few times. I already told you I think they're the most overrated team in football because anytime you don't think that they're going to have the first overall pick, they're automatically overrated. Um, Minnesota did everything that they needed to do towards the end of that game to win it. And look, Minnesota has kind of been like herky jerky here. They obviously had a big game against Green Bay. They won. They had the worst performance and they looked as bad as Tom Hanks did in Philadelphia. And then they had this game against the Lions where they came back and won at the end. So who knows what they are, but I don't know.
Magic Johnson, eh?
Yeah, I went there. Yeah, so
like the Lions, I'm hype on the Lions still. I know it's another one of those depressing losses or whatever, but it was like a divisional loss. We came into that, but each team needs to get a win. It's upsetting they get the loss. Sorry, Josh, but they're just so close to being there. Tell me if they didn't have Jared Goff as a quarterback, that they would just be over the hit or the.
That's the just close enough result in win zone.
yeah,
It's like that's not going to keep coaches there. That's not going to bring free agents in. And I don't even think Jared Goff's the problem. Like he's good enough in that system to win. They have enough. They have enough talent offensively. They're missing 2 offensive linemen, so that really hurt them. Yes, but like they're significantly better than they were. But how long can Motor City Dan Campbell just get them in contention, lose a game, and then he still has a job? If it happens 13 times this year, is he going to be there next year? Probably not. How's he not? Like he's going to be on the hot seat sooner than later if they don't start winning football games. Effort only takes you so far.
the moral victories are starting to add up, right? Oh, Kalen's putting together a Pepsi commercial over there. All right. Well, clearly you don't have any takes on the Lions, so we can dig into a few other things as far as the AFC South goes. But before we do, we're probably going to give out our best bets here, and best bets are always played on Coolback Canada. For me, I'm going to say the over 37.5. Looks like it's just too tasty of a line to grab. It's Monday Night Football. It's going to be a bunch of players that have no business being on Monday Night Football. Both these teams are trash. Both the defenses are garbage. So let's go ahead and just say that it's going to be over 37. And then I'll give each of the running backs a touchdown with Elliott and Barkley.
Going on exactly what you said, these defenses suck. I took Cooper Rush over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yep.
I got it at plus 185. It's too juicy not to touch it. At the end of the day, he knows what he is. He's a backup quarterback, but he's gonna sling the ball. And why not? Like, what do you have to lose? They're not gonna cut you. You have nobody else.
Yeah.
And so when they have odds like that, you got to take it.
Oh yeah, fair enough, and I agree. And make sure you check that out at Coolback Canada. Now the AFC South has been the good, the bad, the ugly. Most of it's been ugly. But we'll start with the Titans and Raiders because the Raiders did everything they could to try and lose that game. I think Derek Carr is horrible. I don't know when he's going to realize that he can't just throw it over a defender. It's not college football anymore. You actually have to find somebody open. But that 2-point play was embarrassing. The fact that they had the ball inside the 20-yard line 3 times and scored once is embarrassing. So give Titans fans a little bit of glimmer of hope because right now I think that you guys just snuck out of one and happened to fall ass backwards. And when I said the winning team is going to be the home team on Thursday when we were talking with Rick, I think that's literally all it was the home team on a different time zone.
It could have been that. I mean, they were missing some pretty significant players. Hunter Renfrow not being there. I mean, Matt Collins certainly stepped up for him in their in his absence. But you call us the shitty, the good, the bad, the ugly, or what do you call us? The division.
The ugly.
So the Indy beats the Chiefs, Jacksonville beats the Chargers, and Tennessee takes care of the Raiders, and that's two AFC West teams everybody was hype on this year. So I mean, come on, the AFC South is making some noise here in Week 3, and that's okay. This was a game that I didn't think needed to be a nail biter coming into the second half, and unfortunately, Tennessee decided to make it that, and that's our lack of pass rush. We fortunately just could not get to Derek Carr. Bud Dupree didn't play last or this week, so that unfortunately with Harold Landry being out, I mean, that's who we have. And we were down to 4 linebackers when it came into the fourth quarter because Cunningham got injured too. 4 total linebackers. So pretty rough second half there, injury wise again. But the running game was there. Derrick Henry got involved in the passing game, so that was fun. What was upsetting, and I'm hoping that they're the same thing that I just said about Godwin was they completely fucked Caleb Fairley again. They took him right out of the game after him getting screwed over in the Buffalo game and the misman alignment, unfortunately, that he got the blame for. So he got one snap the whole game, and that was after Christian Fulton got injured in the fourth quarter. He came in for one play. So that sucks for a first-round pick, but I'm hoping what it is, again, is that he had a blown ACL. I'm hoping that they just rushed him back a little too early like Godwin did, and maybe they realized they need to push him back a little bit. He doesn't have his explosiveness that was the reason he was drafted at 6'2", running a 4.2 40, right? So much funner game to watch than Monday night's game. And it was nice that Vrabel was able to put together a good execution defensively and offensively. Did you end up watching the game at all, or was it just me and Rick that got to watch it?
No, you know what? I watched majority of the Bills and the Dolphins. I did peek at the game because obviously there was going to be a little bit of conversation being had about it, especially since we talked quite a bit about it on Thursday. But
I'll be very honest. I mean, we didn't deserve to win the game in many different aspects because of Darren Waller. Like Darren Waller dropped 3 touchdown passes. Derek Carr could have had a 4 touchdown game. Unfortunately, Darren Waller, took one away from Devontae Adams in the end zone, which may not even have been a catch. Devontae may not have to get the feet down, but he dropped a wide open pass there. He dropped a wide open pass down the sideline. Some people want to say that Carr overthrew it. Waller had his full one hand on it. You're a big tight end like that. You held out all training camp for a better contract. This is the time to prove why you're getting that kind of contract. So, unfortunately, Darren Waller let him down. That interception, the tipped interception at the goal line after he got smoked by a defensive lineman, you still have the 2 hands on the ball. Like, what are you doing, man? You're a big tight end. This is what you're paid to do. So I know that you're harping on Derek Carr. I actually was on the Raiders subreddit today talking to some of their fans, and there's a lot of people that, want to get Carr gone, want to get Josh McDaniels gone. That's the one game that I can't really fault Carr for. I've seen some pretty shitty games, but that one wasn't the one. I don't think. Statline won't say it though.
Sorry, we're just with our camera here, Phelan. Sorry.
Just trying to see if it fixes this out.
No, you're okay.
No, yeah, I didn't get to watch the game. I was watching,
I'm not a Raiders
I was
fan.
watching a lot of that.
What's nice to see was that what's that? Sorry.
I said I was just watching a lot of that Miami and Buffalo game, so I didn't really get to watch too much of that Titans game when the marquee game was at the exact same time. You had to watch it, but I kind of was watching on Red Zone quite a bit, and I don't know. I don't think Derek Carr's that bad of a quarterback. I just don't think he's the right guy in Vegas, and there's no supporting. No one in that organization loves him. I don't think, and I think that's the issue. They brought in Devontae Adams. I think to almost prove a point. Kind of the joke I made about Tua last year with the Dolphins.
yeah.
Like, we're gonna bring you weapons so we can see if you're the problem, and it looks like he's the problem.
Yeah, he can't read the coverages. He can't find the guys open. I think Waller's extension had a lot more to do with his production expected to decline than him thinking that he needed to get paid more. I just think that as he gets into a contract year, next year he wouldn't have wanted to do that with a guy like Derek Carr and the other weapons that they have around. So the targets are getting spread out and the touchdowns are going farther. But
I'm interested to talk to Rick on Thursday about it, but like Josh McDaniels is 1-10. I know we're talking about previous coaching, years and years ago, but the guy's 1-10 in the last 11 games as a coach. I mean, at what point? And his offense has not clicked this season. Coming into the show here, you mentioned the Raiders being bad or whatever, and I kind of joked about like, what's changed? What changed on the Raiders? Nothing. They grabbed Devontae Adams on offense. They didn't lose anybody outside of a bad Alex Leatherwood as a left tackle. And they kind of had some mix and match this weekend, but they actually have a decent offensive line. But their defensive side, if anything, only got stronger either through the draft or through free agency. So what the hell's got to give here in Vegas? It's got to be at this point. You got to look at Josh McDaniels and you got to say, what kind of Raggedy Ann offense were you throwing against a Titans team that gave up that many rushing yards, and yet when you were down and driving with just under 4 minutes left, you didn't run the ball one time. Josh Jacobs was gashing the Titans for run. I don't know what, and this is again, Josh McDaniels is a power running type offense. I don't know what's going on there either. I don't know if we talked about Detroit if Dan Campbell's going to make it through the season. I know that Vegas is pretty, or the Raiders are famous for firing coaches a few years in. I don't know if McDaniels makes it out of the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the Raiders are just looking for a little bit of stability, and I'm pretty sure that he's got himself a little bit of stability with the trades that they've done. That's not going to be a very attractive job to a new coach to come in and not have the draft picks and the ability to do what you want to do. So I think that they're tied to McDaniels as much as they're tied to Adams and Waller right now.
Here's one last funny stat for you before we get off the Raiders. I got to bring it up. The Raiders are 0-3, right? The teams that have beat the Raiders are 0-6 in all of their other games, and all of them are getting outscored by an average of 16 and a half points a game.
Woof. That's
That's
tough.
not pretty, bro.
Do
That's
you
not
know what
pretty.
Tom Brady referred to Derek Carr as?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. And they, you know what? This could be the Tom Brady curse because they had a shot at Tom Brady. If you believe the Dana White story, which seems to be accurate.
I'm going to give a thumbs up. He says
Yeah.
the whole thing. They're like, sign the deal.
Yeah. It was supposed to happen, and then last minute they blew it up, which seems pretty dumb to me, but
I'll take it.
Yeah.
It worked out well for me.
Worked out well for you. As far as other teams in that division, though, I mean, you just said that stat about the Raiders. I would anticipate that stat would be about the Jaguars, but the Jaguars seem different, and Trevor Lawrence seems like the guy that Chad and I thought he was going to be. Chad and I said, like, our very first episode, we talked about Trevor Lawrence in college and how we were excited to see him play in the NFL. Last year, not so great, but it seems like that was coaching. This year, Doug Peterson seems like he hasn't figured it out. They just went in and shit kicked the Chargers. Now, granted, Herbert's hurt, but like Herbert doesn't play defense.
And that defense, there's a lot of money on that defense.
Yeah.
And I would say their defense stacks up better than what Jacksonville's offense stacks up against.
Yeah.
And Trevor just carved them. He took what was available. He had a rough first quarter. I watched it. It wasn't that great. I was like, oh man, like they had the weapons there for him. They have a quarterback coach. And he figured out in the second quarter. Then they just started rolling.
Yeah.
And there was no stopping them. Doug Peterson's doing it again. He made Carson Wentz look great.
Yeah.
Won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about how good his resume actually is. And now he actually is a really talented quarterback. I think it shows that it was Urban Meyer this whole time.
Yeah. Urban Meyer, and I mean, before that in Jacksonville, I think it was Doug Marrone, and that team just didn't. They weren't playing inspired, and they weren't ready for it. Doug Peterson's got them figured out. I don't know what this says about the Chargers, but I think that the Jaguars are a legitimate threat to be a wildcard team.
So okay,
maybe win the division because the division's shit.
Yeah, maybe. So here's my thing, though. You're right. Doug Peterson, he had Carson Wentz, he had Nick Foles, he made the offense easy. When you guys mentioned about Trevor Lawrence is turning the corner, all he's turning the corner is he's turning the page in a very easy playbook that Doug Peterson put together for those two other very mediocre type quarterbacks. I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is mediocre. I'm not saying that, but he's not this God-given talent that we thought Andrew Luck was.
Dave, I want that stat written down.
So I'm not. He's just not a God-given talent. It's a very simple offense that has certainly evolved over the last 3 weeks. We're also talking about a team that has invested the most in free agency every year over the last 7 years, except for 1 year, I think. So eventually they're bound to pop. At some point, you're going to have to put the collective together and start putting some wins together against a team that was their left tackle, all-pro left tackle, tore his bicep yesterday. All-pro center, bum knee, wasn't playing to his 100%. The corner they signed big money free agency to wasn't playing up to par with a bummed ankle after the surgery. And then you got Joey Bosa, that went down with another injury for a groin injury. Didn't even play the second half or most of the second half yesterday. So there was a lot of players missing. And then, that bomb, that piss missile that Justin Herbert threw. I don't know how that guy was able to do that with the rib cartilage issue, but he's still dealing with that too at the same time. There's a lot of things that went wrong for the Chargers, I feel, but I'm not really ready to go pump up the tires of the Jaguars yet. Again, it's a basic offense. It's only been getting more basic over the last 3 years. Let's see how teams start to react with it on film now, right?
Well, Trevor Lawrence has 6 touchdowns with 1 pick. He's thrown for over 250 yards a game. Right now, he's the best quarterback in that division. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, miles above anybody else.
And he's like, yeah, Doug Peterson runs a simple offense to make quarterbacks looks good. But now he's a quarterback that is actually good. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So he's making a simple offense with a guy who's really good at football, really good at reading defense. It's probably the best quarterback he's ever actually had. And now we're going to see how great he can be.
Right, exactly. And you know what? Like simple offense, not simple offense, who cares? There's no style points in the NFL, and as long as you're winning games, why wouldn't you simplify things? I wish that more teams would simplify things so that we don't get delay of game from Russell Wilson and delay of game from Aaron Rodgers because they're trying to read the coverage. Let's make something simple, make something figure it out, and just figure it out. Um, that's probably about the most we've ever talked about the Jaguars on here. So we should talk about whether the Colts won or the Chiefs kicker lost because he let them down big time. And finally, somebody other than us are calling out Eric Bieniemy because he sucks. Patrick Mahomes finally realized he sucks. And if you look at Andy Reid's body language, we know who he sided with. So um, I don't know, man. This might be his last year in Kansas City. Went from being the hottest head coaching candidate to not even be able to call plays for arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time, or our generation right now, anyway.
He can't run the ball still. That's a given. We've been very clear with that.
Yep.
And I think it's that their offense, like as great as they were in week 1, we're like, holy shit, they didn't need Tyreek Hill. The last 2 weeks, like, he actually was pretty good. And he made that because right now, like, I have Travis Kelce on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Without Tyreek Hill, he's not doing much. Now they can key on him. Juju, great number 2 receiver. He's not pulling coverage from anybody. Markley Scanting, same thing, not pulling coverage from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I probably butchered his name. Laugh all you want, Caleb. It's true. He's not doing anything. He's not helping that offense. And yes, like I think it shows that Tyreek Hill was that good. And I didn't think that he was. I'll eat it. I'll say it. I thought Kelsey was the one that made that world go around. And
Yeah.
maybe I was wrong.
Well, don't admit to that on this show. I think it was just a perfect storm for the Colts. I actually went into the week thinking that on Monday Frank Wright was going to get fired because the Chiefs were going to run him out of town. But he just, you know what? They did enough. They did enough to beat him. If you could stop and slow down the Chiefs' offense, that's obviously great news. Luckily for me, because I'm going to the Bucks and the Chiefs game on Sunday. Both of those quarterbacks have something to prove going into Sunday Night Football. I think that I might be attending a barn burner. I might be just calling that right now, but I think it's going to be one of those games for the ages. But I'm not worried about the Chiefs. I'm still worried about the Colts. I think that whether you call it Carson Wentz under center or Matt Ryan, I'm pretty sure that if they got John Elway to come out of retirement or Joe Montana, or even if they got Tom Brady, the offense that they're running is stale and boring. They haven't been able to effectively get Jonathan Taylor to be what he was supposed to be.
Except for the second to the fourth quarter there, when it mattered most, was the only time he actually played well.
Well, because cream rises to the top, right? So he's obviously a great player. He's a great player stuck on a shitty roster. Do I think the Colts are out? No, because they stole this win. At 0-3, they were looking bad. Right now, they got a chance. I seem to remember a Colts team that was 0-5 and still made the playoffs. So can they still figure it out? I mean, it's only 3 weeks in. I think that we're not ready to write off anybody that's outside of the Motor City right now. Like maybe the Bears, but I don't know, man.
That wasn't even the Chiefs' defense let them down more than anything in that game. Matt Ryan was an absolute statue. Got smacked around more in the first half, I think, than I've seen any rookie quarterback experience in the last 5 years. The second half wasn't much prettier. It wasn't the fourth quarter when they decided to play this off coverage and just kind of give up these rinkety dinkety routes, and it was able to let Matt Ryan get back into the game. They opened up the running lanes as well, but it wasn't the Chiefs' offense was totally fine. The defense just totally screwed them.
Yeah, you know what? Like, we'll just chalk that up to one game. I think that every time the Chiefs lose,
Overreaction Mondays.
yeah, we pretty much expect that their defense was shit, or somebody did something. Like, we never blame anything on Patrick Mahomes, which is okay. Like, he doesn't really deserve any blame. I didn't watch a ton of that game. I did watch the final drive and the interception, and what they were doing. I think that we're just conditioned to assume that they're going to come back and win every game. Didn't work out for them this time. Um, Another team that continues to win and continues to be great. The Rams. I think that after week one, we kind of wrote them off a little bit, thinking that they were a little bit stale. But I think that the Bills are just that much better than the Rams. But if you're not thinking the Rams are the best team in the NFC, they have to be in the top three. And
Probably top 2.
yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the top three teams in the NFC right now, Eagles, Bucks, and Rams, put it in whatever order you feel like. But less about the Rams and more about the Cardinals. If it wasn't for that miraculous comeback, I think they're in pretty bad shape. I think that that division, it's not as strong as it's been in the past, and they're kind of squandering the opportunity. You would expect them to be, I don't know, maybe 500 by the time D Hop comes back. It just doesn't seem to be working out for them. It's good Rams defense they played, but
Is Cliff done if they don't win? Because you picked the quarterback,
it's a good question.
and he made you get the quarterback, which they needed desperately. So I won't say that they didn't.
Yep.
But like they're kind of tied together.
Yeah.
Because that was a package deal kind of thing. But you've already paid him, but you're not going to keep Cliff around to go 7-9 or 7-10 every year.
Yeah.
Like you got to start winning football games, and you brought pieces in to make this offensive guy look great. And unfortunately, like you're still only being a 500 football team at best.
Yeah.
And I've been one of the biggest guys on the Cardinals.
Yeah. You were the Cardinals as I was the Broncos, basically, when I thought that Drew Lock was going to be something. He didn't even win the Seahawks job, so that's probably why I don't have a job as a full-time scout with the NFL. How do you feel, Kalen? You think Cliff Kingsbury, like, is this it?
No, guys. There's no DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, like DeAndre Hopkins alone. I saw him in the division for how many years? The guy's going to get you 6 wins on his own. Like they don't have to really in a weak NFC this year specifically. Just play to get him back. Going forward, as long as he's playing, he is going to get you wins. They had a broken AJ Green who couldn't even play the whole game. They had 2 targets. They're running the game with Marquise Brown, who did go off. I mean, granted, he did go off, but it's Hollywood Brown as your number one option. We made fun of me for wide receiver number one. I think the Ravens made the biggest mistake thinking they can make Marquise into number one wide receiver, and the Cardinals are having to deal with it right now because of the suspension to Hopkins. Right? I mean, Andy Isabella, I've ranted and raved. I really did like him mainly because of his speed, but he hasn't done anything at all since he's been in Arizona either. So they have no receiving threat for an offense that is predicated through the pass. Almost every game, Murray's going for over 300 yards. What are you going to do if Marquise Brown is your number one threat? It just isn't going to work against them, the defense like the Rams. Hopkins gets back. The push-off king is back. Again, I think he's good for 5 to 6 wins alone on his own, especially in a weaker NFC as they get to go through the year.
A good chef can cook with any ingredients. You don't need the freshest peppers. You don't need the sharpest meats. If you were the right cook, you could make it happen.
What meat are you cutting with? That's not sharp.
I love sharp meat. Diggs will make you some pancetta. He's got the good stuff. Who cares about the Cardinals? Who cares about the Rams? One thing that is important, and I think it's important for everybody to know, is the Pro Bowl's gone. And I don't think that anybody gives a shit. I don't think anyone cares. The moral victory of losing the championship or losing in a playoff game and going to Hawaii or Orlando or Arizona or wherever the Pro Bowl might be is now a skills competition and a little flag football game. I think it's going to be better to watch. It's going to be more of like a sideshow than any kind of like whatever they tried to put on the field for the Pro Bowl. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that the NFL is probably the reasoning behind it is I think that we're closer to an 18 game season than we think.
I think it should be for fans. No one wants to watch guys just play touch foot on the field.
Yeah.
You might as well watch flag football. Let's see, I want to see the fastest guys are. I want to see who has the strongest arm.
Right.
Put a bunch of linemen there and put a bench press out there. That's what
who
guys
didn't want to
wanna
watch
see.
Larry Glover try and push for 50 reps, right?
Yeah, that's what people want to
that?
see. Larry Allen put on 52 reps of the bench press. I want to see Tyreek against whoever. I want to see Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes finally have that throw off they talked about for 2.5 years. Let's see who puts that ball at 83 yards.
Depends on if the arm angle is here or the arm angle is here, how far it's going. Because Patrick Mahomes will do a whole bunch of different arm angles. Just like our guy over at the Hot Sauce Co., he does a whole bunch of different brands, a whole bunch of different flavors. Check out Hot Sauce Co. It's either .ca or .com, and I'll have it written down. But if you use the Going for Two promo code, you get 15% off your order, which is obviously a good thing. And the boys are going to be out at Oktoberfest at Kellogg's on Wednesday, repping for the Hot Sauce Co. because he's going to some concert somewhere and he asked us to fill in, so that's what we do. Bengals back on track? Question mark. / why are they a 3-point favorite against the Dolphins? I know we touched on it a little bit, but maybe it's time to dig a little bit deeper into a team that practices outside in December and January and figure out why this team somehow is favored against the Dolphins. We did touch on it, but Kalen, what do you think? And then we'll circle back to Chad because I know Chad's already been making a little bit of money on the Dolphins this year.
I feel like it's because Burrow wasn't sacked 13 times in a game that people think that the Bengals are ready to turn the corner here. Yeah. Like it's not like the Jets are a defense as far as a defensive front that gets a lot of sacks. Like they're in the bottom third of the league. They only have 5 sacks coming through the week, or coming through the season anyway. So they're not. I don't really think that the Bengals I can really take a win off of the Jets, who had a come from behind victory against a broken Browns team, to be a stepping stone for them. It's great that you got your win. There's still a lot of things that are going wrong for you. It's great that you got Joe Burrow to get the ball out of your hands in under 3 seconds. I mean, that's fantastic. It's the number one thing you need to get done for sure. But your running game, was it even there in the game? I don't even know how it went that yesterday. Did you know how it went?
No, I'm not going to pretend like I watched any of the Bengals and the Jets.
Well, the run game was still shit. I mean, they still had like P. Ryan still had a decent
basement.
average, but he's your passing back. So I mean, he had a couple of draws that were decent, but they still have no run game. They're still not going to go long, which is astounding. This is a team, again, we talked about in another episode, how they retooled their offensive line, and they're still on pace to beat how many sacks they had last season. That's embarrassing. So they got to get the run game back, because going into cold weather, that's not going to be good for them if they're going to be a pass-happy team. You can only live and die with Joe Burrow making so many decisions. I love him. He's a gunslinger, but he's Brett Favre in that aspect as well. He's going to throw some weird passes sometimes.
That is not something you want to be called nowadays, is Brett Favre. He is in some,
I know. I mean,
he is in some warm water, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That guy is having a tough time right now, and for some reason, there's no volleyball court being built.
Oh, you guys get to talk about this game at all?
Of course.
Okay, just checking.
Of course.
The biggest thing I think is, once again, the Bengals still have no O-line. They paid a lot of money for it. We talked about it on week 1. That's a really bad investment, it looks like right now. Miami's hot. And they have the league. They have a track team playing receiver. Tua seems to be clicking with all of them. And they are running the ball.
Yeah.
They're good enough at running the football. And as much as I love to rip on Kalen, he was right. That defense is lights out.
Yeah.
They haven't got to the quarterback, but they're really good at defense. And their pass defense, outside of Diggs getting this thing, they pretty much held Josh Allen in check until near the end of the game. And if I had to put Burrow against Josh Allen right now, where I'm going to rank them, Josh Allen's a superior, better quarterback than Joe Burrow. And I think the Buffalo Bills are a better football team than the Bengals.
No, I agree. And when it comes down to it, Thursday Night Football, the home team is generally the favorite, and that makes sense. If you're looking for a sure bet, I would say over 47.5 feels pretty good. Not definitely everything Chad said makes sense. They were able to shut down the Bills receivers. I think that the Bengals have a little bit higher level of receiver, plus coming off of all the defensive snaps that the Dolphins just played. There's gonna be a lot of points, but overall, my side would be on the Dolphins side. But I'm gonna stick with the over. Um, really quickly about the Ravens. Anything stand out? I mean, Lamar Jackson looks like he's better than ever, and I say that, and I said that on the last show. I think that Lamar Jackson is on point, uh, and the big takeaway I have is that Lamar Jackson is going to play quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucks next year, and he's going to get traded there. He's going to get traded for a couple first round picks, probably, maybe a couple pieces. Uh, I'm not even saying like I think it's like a maybe. If you can find the betting lines go to Coolbet Canada, find out will Lamar Jackson be the quarterback of the Buccaneers next year? I think that you can get some pretty good odds on it, but right now I am more confident about that than Christmas is coming this year.
Why you were so hype on this? I get it. I get that Tom is leaving, but like they have him. Like they have him on a tag for so long.
Can I just ask a legit question? Is we completely off script?
Yep.
I honestly believe right now Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson are probably the two top quarterbacks through 3 weeks.
Yeah, and Tua would probably be like right behind that with Josh Allen.
Are we seeing a pass of the torch in the quarterback game? Where if you cannot run, you are not going to be a top guy.
100%, 100%, and I think that's so. My number one, as a Steelers fan, my number one thing was we need to find somebody that has 2 feet that aren't the same side. So Ben Roethlisberger back in his day could run, but his last 5 years, 6 years, he had 2 left feet, couldn't move around, didn't have any knees, his joints were just rubbing together, and he was in bad shape. That's why I felt good about Trubisky. That's why I felt good about the drafting of Kenny Pickett because I think that those guys' skill set is more on par. But absolutely, look at the statue quarterbacks right now: Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan. You putting your offense behind like with any of those guys? Like who else is a statue in the league right now?
Anybody who's
Stafford.
over the age of 30 right now is a statue of quarterback.
I mean, even Tom Brady, and like people probably didn't even see the play if you didn't watch every down because he was eliminated by a penalty. But he swam under the defensive line and ran for 25 yards. It was holding, but he still has the ability to do it. And when he slid, and I'm sure you saw this, he ripped his knee brace up, and he was still able to move around with that. So can't even call him a statue anymore.
Like I think just the whole thing of like Lamar and what Jalen Hurts are doing in Philly.
Yeah.
It's just the quarterback game has changed so much, and like these guys are like, I can't even quote Josh, but they're built different,
Yeah.
and they're just a different level of athlete now,
Yeah.
and they can throw a football too. Like Lamar's throwing the football better than he ever has.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think that Lamar's making himself some money, and he's making himself some money with no state tax because he's going to be playing in Florida. I'm just saying. You heard it here first. You heard it here a couple weeks ago. I'll continue to beat that drum. As a Buccaneer season ticket holder, it would be fantastic for business. Uh, we're going to talk a little bit about frauds, and then we'll get into Monday Night Football, which is basically a couple more frauds. But Saints, 49ers, and Broncos, to me, all frauds. I don't think that any of them are going to be in the conversation when January rolls around. The 49ers didn't give Jimmy G a playbook in the summer because they thought he was going to be going to a different team. And boy, did that show last night. The Broncos, I don't understand what they're doing with Russell Wilson. If
He's
they're
overcooked. He's just burnt now. It's like he's not cooking no more.
yeah, his microwave is definitely not working, and
I mean, okay,
they were better
paper-
with Drew Lock. They were better with Drew Lock.
yeah, on paper, Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are great names, right? They are really good names, but they're not Tyler Lockett, who's probably the best adjusting wide receiver to any ball. And what is Russell Wilson great for is that moonshot type throw. And I took some heat this week. I'm going to maybe take some heat again from some folks. I know that he's ranked as one of the top most accurate deep throw wide quarterbacks ever. It's because I think people like Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are one of the better adjusting receivers that we've ever seen, and we're able to get under that ball. All you had to do was heave it down and get in the general vicinity. He's not doing that with people like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy right now, unfortunately. That drop by Jeudy was terrible. I mean, that was an incredibly accurate throw. So we know that he still has some accuracy, but he's not nearly as mobile as he used to be. And I don't mean about just scrambling out and getting, a few yards here and there. But when he finally makes the decision to get away from the pocket, God, does it ever close fast on him? Right? Like he's just not the Russell Wilson that we remember. And unfortunately, those wide receivers are not built to his skill set. He won a game yesterday, but a very sloppy looking offensive style game. I'm not. The defense is what's really doing it for Denver. That defensive coordinator down there has got them going on all cylinders right now. If the offense can slightly catch up, they are a scary team in the AFC West, which with a weak Chargers team we talked about and a Raiders team too could make some noise. But Russell is not what he used to be by any means, and he can't get those moonshots out.
Agreed. And I know Chad's favorite thing is moonshot, so I'm going to give him a second to
Well,
talk
I
about
made sure
it.
to say it a few times for him.
I'm gonna just nominate the coach of the year right now, and then I'll let Chad talk about Russell Wilson. I think Sean Payton is the coach of the year, because of everything that the Saints are going through now and how bad they are without him. I think it's the same thing that Peyton Manning should have been the MVP the year that he missed and the Colts went 0-16.
They won one.
Did they?
Yeah, that's why Pat was Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's share that record.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, Chad, I know you love Russell Wilson. I know you love moonshots. So let's hear what you got.
I think Russ is done.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear. I think the Seahawks saw it coming, and they made that move on it. They do. They had Geno Smith, which is wild, and they were cool with that over Russell Wilson. That's all I'm going to say on Russ. They knew that Geno Smith was a better option than Russell Wilson at this moment.
Right.
On the 49ers side, I think Jimmy's going to be fine. He knows the offense. You have a playbook, yeah. They honestly do not think they're going to have him and fuck them over last week.
Oh, yeah.
But we know what Jimmy is.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to win 11 football games.
Yeah.
They're going to play great playoff football. They're going to win a road game in the playoffs. And they could even compete for an NFC championship again. The NFC is not very good. San Francisco is good enough.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about that. And I think Jimmy, once again, is good enough to play for them.
Yeah.
And the style of offense they're going to run.
You know what's funny though is it because Jimmy G is like Jimmy G, the good-looking guy, that he doesn't take the heat that Dan Orlovsky got for that running out of the back of the end zone safety, or is it because it was another
Jimmy
line?
G bangs porn stars. What are you going to say to that guy? And doesn't care that he gets put on TMZ. Like there's a difference. Like there's levels to making a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was pretty funny though. The Dan Orlovsky tweeting out freedom finally that he's not.
Yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
right?
He's still being made fun of on Come On Man on his own show.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're talking about, Geno, you mentioned that there. He's 10th in QBR rating in the league right now. Russell's 21st. Who really made out like a devil in this one when they got $230 million as well backed up by getting traded over to Denver for a couple first rounders, right?
Yeah, exactly. It seems like the Seahawks are winning that deal. If the Broncos don't win at least one Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, then the Seahawks win the deal. Even if they decide to draft a punter in the first round, doesn't matter. They got more value out of it. They have the ability to wreck it or not. We'll probably have to skip a couple things here and dump right into it's Monday Night Football, and we're counting down for the Cowboys and the Giants. I guess people can't see it, but we do have a live studio audience here. They've been very good and very calm. One of them is a Giants fan. Naturally, when two shitty teams play each other, you really don't want to pick the outcome. So again, for me, I'm on the over for this game. Giants have the ability to start 3-0 for the first time in a long time. I was actually looking for the stat. My internet didn't go back that far.
There's no Rolodex.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean, the old phone books probably have it somewhere. I don't know the last time the Giants were 3-0. But I believe in them tonight for some reason. I think Cooper Rush is just a flash in the pan. They got some receivers. They're going to have to run the ball. I think that this is probably going to be one of those like games where each team runs the ball 40, 50 times, but each team still scores like 21. I don't know. Let's call the score 27-21 for the Giants.
No Dalton Schultz, right? No Michael Gallup for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So they're going to be leaning on Noah Brown and CeeDee Lamb again still.
And Noah Brown's only 3.5 receptions, by the way, for the over-under. So somebody's a quick bet, last bet, Noah Brown over 3.5 receptions.
Oh, yeah, he's got that connection with Noah. I picked him up for fantasy, one of the Cowboys fans I got. as a friend told me to pick him up, and he's been. I haven't had to play him yet, but he's
They
been pretty
spent
good.
3 years on the scout team together. They're gonna have some bond.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess like the question we go into this game, um, Cowboys are 2-0, or sorry, the Giants are 2-0. Cowboys are 1-1. Um, either one of these teams a legitimate contender against the Eagles.
No, not at all.
I mean, there's few teams that are contenders against the Eagles' offense right now in the entire league, let alone in their own division. Like those guys are chugging on all cylinders. Jalen Hurts, you talked about it. I called that guy mediocre quarterback coming into the season. Boy, is he making me eat my words. He's still, one or two read quarterback, but he's certainly making the right read, either one at the first or second time.
Well, he's got one of the best receivers in the league on his team.
Shut your.
Devontae Smith, right?
Are you talking about Devontae Smith? I hope you are.
He's got the best number 2 in the football in AJ Brown. So.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Just he's surrounded with top talent. That's another team that they have a run game. They don't necessarily have a running back. I think that's why the Eagles have a little bit of sustainable future. They don't, the Miles Sanders of the world get a little bit hurt, but you have Gainwell, you got Boston Scott there, and Hurts can be pretty active in the run game, and he's a little bit more durable. He's a little bit thicker than Lamar Jackson, so I think that he'll be able to use his legs in the playoffs, take a hit, and not be phased by it. Plus, he's been in the big stage before. Really quickly, I guess, let's make a pick on this game, and then let's get out of here so we can get ready for it.
I gotta take.
I'm gonna go Cowboys.
Cowboys.
24-21. Just to piss off John. I know he's bigger than me, but
Yeah,
I'm bigger than he is. That's not saying much.
I'm on the Giants. 27-21.
Wow. I'm taking Cowboys here, 14-10.
Wow,
Yeah,
another
this isn't gonna
barn
be an
burner, eh?
offensive
Another
powerhouse,
prime
guys.
time slugfest.
It's gonna be
I'll
some
make sure to leave at
ugly
halftime
football
so
that
the
take
game
place
gets
here
good
for
after
sure.
that then.
Yeah. Anything final notes? I won't be around. I won't be around for Thursday or Monday, so this is your shot. If you want to take a shot at the Steelers playing the Jets, this is your only opportunity.
No. I know it's a little off top, not football here, but I don't know if you're paying attention to the Judge watch here, but it looks like a fan bought out the entire area of stands for the home run area for Judge. I think that's pretty neat, man. It's a good time when we watching baseball.
Opposite field.
What's that?
Just to be a dick. It's opposite field.
I'm
Goes
pretty sure
opposite
Gossman's
field.
I'm
You
pretty sure
jerk.
Gossman's walked him twice.
That'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, but that will sign off episode. Do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
That will sign off episode 131. Let's make it so it's not 45 episodes before we get back in person again. Next time, we're going to have to see Kalen around. I think that he was preemptively expecting the Titans to lose, and that's why he wasn't here. Or he found out John Hudson was going to be here and didn't want to be any part of that because they have some kind of a wrestling bet that Kalen has to wrestle John Hudson. But make sure you're checking out the socials. Like I said, make sure you're checking out the sponsors. Cool Bet Canada if you're looking to wager some cash tonight. If you're looking to eat some hot sauce on your wings, Hot Sauce Co. is the way to go. Make sure you follow the socials. Anytime you subscribe or like, we definitely appreciate it. It helps us out. And we will